Look like we on, yeah.
Okay. We definitely on.
Yeah. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, man. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing this morning?
Good, good. Can't complain. Can't complain.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Welcome everyone to the Guy Talk Pod. I'm Clarence Grant, or C. Grant, host. I got our co-host, my brother, my friend, Pastor Marcus Winfrey, on live with us. We were scheduled to have Michael Roberson on here to discuss his book. He is in Hawaii, and we're having some challenges. He's having some technical difficulties. So we're going to allow for him to attempt to get on. If not, myself and Marcus going to keep y'all company, and hopefully y'all do the same. So we'll start off by saying it's been a great first season of Guy Talk. The feedback has been awesome indeed.
Phenomenal.
And we continue to try to push new topics, new guests, or just myself and Mark is just really creating a space for men to be very vocal in various areas and vulnerable to talk about different subjects that are concerns to men. So we are definitely proud of that. And Marcus, I know I'll let you chime in there. I know that's some few things.
Yeah, this has been an exciting season. It's been an exciting time for us with this podcast. I mean, we've got so much great feedback from people local, abroad, everywhere, all over the country, really. I think we hit about 114,000. We were talking about before going live, 114,000 on TikTok.
Yes.
And so, I mean, that was great. That was one video that just blew up. So we thank everybody for paying attention, for watching us, whether it's good for feedback or bad. We accept all criticism, but at the same time, we're here for men, to help men different ways, different avenues. I'm not saying we're perfect with anything that we talk about, but we come with the things that we've been through, that we've lived through, that we have experience in and shared. So this is a podcast that's open for that. I mean, women can watch, women can get stuff too. You get a little better insight on men. This isn't a man bashing podcast, a woman bashing podcast, a podcast about uplifting people. And so we're just excited about what we did and what we have coming forward. So I want you guys to continue to tune in with us and get a chance to get to know us a little bit better. If you have some stuff, you can always hit us up and see if you could give us some stuff to talk about. I mean, we have a lot of stuff already coming up, but we just want to get on live and kind of do something a little different. We have Michael. He'll be tuning in with us in a few. He's getting his stuff together to get on with us, but we'll have a lot of great things coming up for you guys.
Yeah, and Monday meetup starting Monday.
Yeah.
Starting Monday.
Not New Year's Day, but the following. Not New Year's Day, the following Monday. Because I ain't getting up that early on New Year's Day. I'm just telling you now.
We're going live.
It'd be a struggle to get on. It'd be a struggle to get on early in the morning. So not on New Year's Day. You know, we got church New Year's Eve. And you know, the vision, he could go. So
it'll be a little
it'll be a long time. It'll be a long time. It is all day, so I'm trying to sleep, recuperate a little time of night out anyway. So
What's
up, Mike? What's up, man?
You're live. You're live in the audience with us on Facebook, brother. Thank you. I know you are in the great state of Hawaii. Hawaii is considered a state, right? Yeah.
It is.
Great state of Hawaii. You know. Mm-hmm. Good morning to you. Although it's almost lunchtime here. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How's everything going?
It's going good. It's going good, man.
Mike say we busted in on the sleep time.
It's all good. It is all good. I'm so grateful.
You got your coffee or your hot chocolate or your green tea?
Yeah, we good to go.
All right. Well, I got my green tea here. You know.
Yeah, we are good to go. I got
I'm a
mine.
green tea fan. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. We got everyone. We have our brother, our friend, author Michael Roberson. Man, I am so excited about this conversation today. Our brother, I'll let him get into it, but he was here in the BR area for I think maybe 4 years. I think you were here in Louisiana.
I was there for 3.
Three
Yep.
years,
For 3.
and now it's in Hawaii, and he'll get into those details. But we are happy to have him on to talk about his book, Overcoming Identity Crisis.
Yes.
Yes,
Awesome
great book.
book, awesome book. We are declaring and decreeing bestseller,
Come on.
bestseller. You
Come
Yes.
on.
know,
Glory to
so
God.
we're going to drop that information as we go along in the podcast. But before we dive in, Mike, tell the people a little bit about you and where you are and kind of your background and all that good stuff.
Okay, so again, yes, Michael Roberson. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, right? So I always say there's nothing finer than being from the Carolinas, But from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm in the military. So we went to. I've been to Alaska. I used to stay in Alaska. Used to stay here in Louisiana. We're there in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was there for 3 years, and now after leaving Louisiana, I'm here in Hawaii. I'm looking forward to getting a little bit closer back to the States where I can be a little bit around family. Hawaii is a very beautiful place, but yeah, I'm excited, man. The Lord has given me opportunity. This is my second book, Overcoming Identity Crisis. My first one is called The Mind of Christ. And so I'm excited about, the things that God is sharing for sure.
Awesome. So this is the sophomore project. This is
Sophomore
the
project.
sophomore project. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah,
That's
sophomore
awesome.
project. Thank you so much.
Marcus, you want to tell the people a little bit about you? And
Well, I'm
before you,
Marcus. As most people know already, I'm co-host here. I have a lot of different things I have my hand into. I'm over the youth at my church, young adults. I love people. I love people of God. I mean, I love men, love everybody, and I'm just an easygoing person, easy to get along with. So that's pretty much it.
awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
And last but not least, it's your boy C. Grant. Myself and Marcus host Guy Talk podcast. Been a long time in the making. We've been talking about it behind the scenes before you guys actually began to see actual episodes. It started really under our awesome apostle, Michael Smith from New Covenant Christian Center via our men's ministry, which we're having an awesome time in that arena as well. Our last meeting was last night, and it went on. It was totally awesome. So, the God Talk part is really about reaching men, allowing them or creating a space for them to be vulnerable and have a space to talk about a variety of topics. And so we're glad you guys are joining us today. So, Mike, we get into the book, brother.
Yes.
Overcoming Identity Crisis. Let me share this. Let me put this up. So everybody can see Overcoming Identity Crisis. We got author Michael Roberson with us. And I was in my preparation, for this. I was really talking to God in terms of, giving me some revelation around, the different things that I was reading as it relates to the book. And he brought me to Genesis, and I'm going to read this scripture to start us off and then go elaborate before we kind of dig into the meat of everything. This is coming from Genesis 37. So it came to pass when Joseph had come to his brothers that they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the tunic of many colors that was on him. Then they took him and cast him into the pit. And we all know the story of Joseph in terms of him really going to his brother and his father, going to Jacob and really informing them of the dreams he was having, right? And really telling them, this is what's going to happen. This is what, in essence, God has in store for me. This is what my purpose is. We know they rejected that. They were jealous. They rejected that. And long story short, they lured Joseph and took off his tunic or coat and threw him into the pit. And of course, lied to their father, saying that Joseph is no longer with us, right? And the revelation God gave to me on this is that although his brothers were jealous of him, they thought his identity was found in what they thought he was, as well as that coat.
Right.
So they felt stripping him of that coat or stripping him from what they thought to be gone and forgotten would null and void the plans God had for him and who he was. And in reading your book, I was like, wow, that's the perfect parallel, Lord, because they really thought them taking something for Joseph was going to stop God's plan, and he was no longer be able to know what was in him. They thought it was the jacket, but it was his DNA. It was what God had already put in him of who he was to be.
Yes.
And you guys are familiar with it. I'll let y'all touch on that before, but that was the parallel revelation that God gave me on this morning.
Yeah, so I think that's something that's very, very important, that we really understand exactly what God says about us. Because if not, then we'll associate our identity by the things that we have. We'll associate our identity by the things that we don't have, what other people have, and that's a dangerous place to be in, right? When you begin to associate yourself or identify yourself by the things that you have or you don't have or what other people have, it's a very dangerous spot to be in, man. So understanding exactly that I'm only identified by what and who God says I am, right? And then understanding that because of what and who God says I am, that gives me the ability or the power to yet do exactly what God says I can do, right? And so our power really relies in the aspect of or the boundary of what God says I can do, right? And so that's the important part, man. And so just knowing, that Joseph really understood that is not, that coat is not exactly what identified me, right? So rather you take that away or not, right? And that's the important part that I think that men also really have to understand, right? Because a lot of times we'll associate identity by what we have, right? What kind of job we have, what kind of family we have, whatever the case is, right? And so understanding, hey, that's not what identifies me, right? The amount of money that I bring to the table is not what identifies me. How many kids I have is not what identifies me, right? What identifies me, not even the troubles that I've been through, that's not what identifies me. But what identifies me is knowing what God and who God says I am. I think that's an important aspect that we've got to look at. We've got to look at, analyze that thing, because that brings us into understanding and knowing what our purpose is.
Amen.
Good. I think kind of a little bit what you talked about, Clarence. The coat, what it represented, the father gave him that coat, which represented that his father saw him for the person that he was. Our identity not comes from our father.
Yes.
Our father is our identity. And so what ended up happening is God was showing the father showed the brothers that Joseph is the one that's been chosen. Now, the father may not understood the whole process of what it was, but he let Joseph know that I see you as a chosen person. And so sometimes a lot of us we struggle with identity crisis, like as Michael's talking about in the book, because it's a father issue in some instances. I don't know how deep you went into that, but it's a father issue somewhere where it says, okay, well, how does my father see me? That's why you see little boys try to be the best that they can be in front of their dads, because they need to be identified. They need to identify with something. And the dad is that identifier. That's how we get our identity. A lot of people go through identity crisis because I don't know who my father is. My father never gave me an identity. And so we'll try to figure out something and go from place to place trying to get something because we're trying to identify with something. But with Joseph, he was identified early on. So the brothers hated him more because he was identified as that person.
Yeah.
And sometimes we get issues because we're identified as somebody, and it's like, man, I wanted that identity. I wanted that. I wanted that title. I wanted that position. But you didn't realize that when God spoke to Joseph's dad and said, hey, this is the person. he realized that he placed the coat of many colors on him, which represented the loyalty, which represented the royalty, I should say, the rulership in that family. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of places we can
And
go with this. So
separated it.
yeah,
And
exactly. It's a lot of places we can go with
separated,
that, but
right?
I'm gonna let Michael jump back in and let you
I
guys
think
jump back in on that.
No, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good right there.
absolutely. I think, and I talk about that a little bit, man, right? Just in the aspect of understanding, that a lot of times, even when, because just like you're saying, right, in the aspect of, a lot of times that kids want to be just like they want to emulate their father, right?
Correct.
And bringing it into a more spiritual aspect. One of the things that the scripture teaches us is that we're to imitate Jesus Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to make sure that everything that we're doing, it is there to emulate, to imitate Jesus Christ, right? And knowing that those who we are emulating, right? The Bible says to mark the perfect man, behold the upright. So we got to understand that, okay, those who we're even, beholding, those who we're even looking up to be as a role model, right? We've got to ensure that that person, is also following Jesus Christ, right? Because if not, right, then what we're doing is we're following a wrong example, right?
Right.
An example that is not going to lead us into the place where we are supposed to be, actually identified with, that what we're supposed to be actually identified with. So I think that analyzing these things are very, very vital in, understanding who you actually are, your identity for sure. It really reminds me a lot about what the episode that you guys had, The Real Man Agenda, right? Because it talks about, understanding that, that fatherly aspect within that
Right. Right.
that whole thing.
Yeah.
So what was your inspiration behind this book, Mike?
Inspiration, man, behind the book is really I really got it from looking at some of my family members and some of my friends, right? Some of my wife friends as well, just those that are around us. Because a lot of times really just looking at the aspect that we're not really too sure of who we are, right? Whenever we go through different type of issues, whenever we go through different type of struggles, right? If you don't know who you are or whose you are, right, then it makes the challenge a lot harder to overcome, right? When understanding that no matter what you're going through, you're still going to be an overcomer, right? You will overcome. I don't care how big it is, right? And I know that sounds very vague, and I know that sounds very, elementary, but until we really get that, it makes the challenge a lot harder to actually overcome, right? Understand you will overcome those aspects, those issues that you're dealing with, at home, those issues that you're dealing with on the job, whatever the issues actually are, understanding that you will overcome, right? Now, here's another thing that really is inspirational, is also understanding that we have as men, if we look at society, the society that we're in today is not the society that we saw. I know for me, I was born in the 90s, right? So looking at the 90s, or maybe it was, however, it wasn't as publicized, right? So one of the things that I'm also understanding is that men have changed roles. You know what I mean? And a lot of the issue the reason that they've changed roles is because they don't really fully understand who they are, right? Again, just like one of your other episodes, this episode here, I believe, really was a buildup, of a lot of the other episodes that came before us, right? But looking at one of I think it was your very first episode, there was a gentleman up there that said, man, we've got to understand as men, a lot of times we look at the aspect that men are the head, but understanding that the head really means the foundation. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as men, right? One of the things that has happened is that we have changed and switched the roles. A lot of men today want to be the glamour and the design of the house. No, sir. We are the foundation. You may not
Correct.
look, you may not really be the one that's seen. However, you are the glue that holds everything together. If there is cracks in you, and if you don't understand who you are, how can your family understand who they are? How
Who
can
they
your
are.
Right,
That's
son
right.
understand
That's
right,
right.
who
right.
he is? Your
Mm-hmm.
daughter understand who she is. Your wife understand who she is. So
Mm-hmm.
we've gotta. I think just looking at society in a whole, and God giving me that keen vision of like, hey man, we have an issue.
Yeah,
We have an issue here. So men, we have an issue. Women have an issue because when the man steps outside of his understanding of his role, then because the woman is the helpmate, one of the things that the woman does is try to take on the man's responsibility, right? And so now, because it's in her DNA to help, it's in her DNA to, okay, if you ain't gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, And so, women a lot of times like, hey man, they'll only ask you a lot of women only gonna ask you to do something like 1 or 2 times.
Once or
After that,
twice. After that, they gonna do it
they
themselves.
gonna do
They
it
gonna they
yeah.
gonna
themselves. You
they
know
gonna
what
get
I
up and
mean?
start
Right,
And
moving.
so
right.
Uh-huh.
absolutely. So if we are, because of the fact that, you know what I mean, like, hey, men is, we've changed the roles, and because we switched the roles, the woman is in her DNA, she gonna pick it up. Hey man, you ain't gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. This causes an identity crisis because the woman does not need to be in the position or doing the things that the man was designed to do. So this is it, it becomes a major issue when the man does not understand his position, his role, or who he is,
Right,
right?
Mm-hmm.
right. And then, you know, there are those men that we speak to, several men at this point, in terms of a very transparent in terms of, Clarence, Marcus, I just don't know how,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
just don't know how to, you know, one, know what my purpose is as the head of the home. What's my identity in that? And be that
Mm-hmm.
example so my kids, my wife, they know of that. And
Right.
what do you, Michael? What do you feel where men can um, help identify who they are, uh, so that they can be that the true foundation of the home? Because we
Right.
know
So
that's where it starts.
yeah. So I believe it's important. Now I believe that it's important to really get around and be around solid men, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now the issue would be, are they around solid men?
Yeah,
Right. I think that becomes an issue now here because honestly, it's not a lot. Right. It's not a lot. Who's going to walk in that actual aspect again, just kind of going back to one of your previous episodes. If we have I think the real man agenda, he was saying, there's a small, if you look at the entire snapshot of men, it's
mhm,
not a lot of men who's going to really do that. Right. So I think that one of the important things is to actually do research yourself. Right. Read your scripture. Right. Read your scripture, do your research, find out what is it that God actually commands for a man to do.
mhm,
Right. Find that, find out what it is that God actually commands for a man to do. How do you be the head? How do you lead? Right? How do you be responsible for these particular things? I
right,
believe that my book kind of goes into that and shows you what it is that you actually need to do. I'm not just giving you the fact or telling you the fact that, hey, there is an identity crisis, but how do we overcome this identity
right,
crisis? Right.
right,
And the way that you're going to overcome it, honestly, and I know it sounds elementary, but the only way that we're going to overcome these identity crises is understanding what God says about us, right? And leaning on God to help us overcome, right? So again, you sometimes it's important that we actually find someone who is a man walking in those particular examples, and once we find that, we can lean and glean from their them being a role model,
yeah,
as long as
yeah,
they are following Christ. Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ, right? So there are men, right, who are following God, and it's important that you connect yourself with them. Now if you cannot find anybody, then again, what we do is we lean on scripture. What is it that God is actually saying? We can lean upon that and we can move from that aspect. But other than that, man, I think it's just important that we find someone who's following what God is actually saying, and we lean on that. That is going to be the way that we're going to be able to overcome.
And that's so awesome. I was reading that in your book when you talked about the importance of the right relationships, the
Yes.
importance of the right relationships and who we surround ourselves around, and examples, mentors, folks that we can feed off of, uh, people that we can be vulnerable with. And one of my favorite chapters, and again, if you're just joining us, we got author Michael Roberson on with us today, an awesome book, Overcoming Identity Crisis. He's going to tell you where you can find this book, and order it directly from the website. But
let me jump in right quick, Clarence.
Go ahead.
I'll jump in on what he was saying about as far as finding good mentors.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people miss it because they think the only good men they can follow is the ones that's in the pulpit.
Yes.
And that's not true. To be honest with you, like some of my best mentors were just regular men that took care of their families, that went to work every day, that did what they had to do for their families, and I gleaned and I learned from them. They went to church. Don't get me wrong; they served God, but they were just normal everyday men who told me, "Hey, look, you're going the wrong way." Or stop doing these things. Just men that just just wanted to take you in and just help you. It wasn't just the men that preach in the pulpit on Sunday mornings, because some of us, be honest with you, we need help too. As preachers that preach and teach and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
And so, we can't, sometimes I'm not the best mentor. When I have my own stuff going on, I'm like, hey, look, I want to help you, but right now just ain't the best time. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to get wrapped up in the fact like it only is a man. I'm not saying that we said that, but it's only a man in the pulpit that can help me with something. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're good people, but there's also good men that's not in the pulpit too. They can help you out. There's a good man that's your neighbor. That's good men that you know from a family, a childhood that's an upstanding guy. That's a good man. So I want people to understand too that you can find mentors anywhere, just like what Michael said. That's walking in the way that you want to go into. That's walking in the place that you say, hey, I want to be a better man in my finances. You may meet a guy that's good with money. You see that, hey, he's got a lot of things going for himself. Make some conversation, spark up some stuff. Say, hey, guy, how did you get here? Like, give me some information. Give me some ways on how I can do something different with what I have to make things work for me. A lot of, and go from there.
So I think when you understand the direction that you're trying to go, right?
Yeah.
Understanding, okay, like this is where I'm trying to go. This is you may not fully understand your purpose yet, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you understand, okay, I have a little wisdom on this is the direction I want to go. This is the direction I do not want to go. Right. I think once you have that, at least that type of wisdom, right, of understanding, separating the good from the bad, right, you can find someone in the aspect of the direction that you're trying to go to, right? Mm-hmm. Like Marcus is saying, hey, you might, when it comes to finances, right, it's important to understand your direction. Right.
Correct.
And because if you don't understand your direction, you'll follow anybody. You'll follow anybody when you don't understand your direction. That's a more important, analytic that we got to really understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, and this is the importance of men, right? This is the importance of men, because even if someone cannot or does not really understand, that they need a mentor. If we as men see someone that does not fully understand the direction in which they should go, it's our responsibility. Hey man, look, this is what you need to be doing. Hey, follow me for a little bit. I may not be the person that you're gonna follow
long term.
Life,
Exactly.
what I mean? But hey, look, at least get up on your feet. Follow me, because I need you. There is need for you. You know what I mean? Even in the earth, there's need for you, man. So I think that's important.
So what do y'all think the gap is present day? So
I think that's it's a time thing. I think we touched on that a little bit. Michael was touching on that when he talked about he was raised in the 90s. Roles have shifted.
Right, that's what.
Roles have shifted. Back when I was growing up, men would take you on automatically. Like, come here, young blood, or whatever they wanted to call you at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, come here, let me talk to you. What you doing out here? They talk to you nowadays. You talk to a kid, stranger danger. They think that you're some type of pedophile or something. And it's like, bro, I'm trying to help you. I don't want nothing from you. I'm just trying to help you. But so now a lot of, and then too, we didn't have TikTok and Instagram and Facebook to help us to groom us into different areas. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, everybody's so afraid of what's the motive, or what's the thing behind what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
with that, now a lot of men are more standoffish, and then too, a lot of them really do have identity crisis. If I be honest with you,
Yeah.
like a lot of brothers don't know who they are. They don't know how to mentor nobody because they never were mentored
They
by
never.
another man. You know what I'm saying? So a
Yeah.
lot of them, they're just really going off of it, however I can get it. And so it's like, I'm gonna be open to listen to somebody else when I've never been through a situation of my own. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, whatever I do, I just do it. And so if I see somebody else, well, they'll figure it out just like I had to. So it becomes that selfish type mentality that we
Right.
have, and when things start to happen like they happen. So
Man,
Yeah.
I,
And,
I,
and let's not forget about, you know, what the kids or what they see. And what I
mhm,
mean by that, we live in a society whereas you're almost sometimes taking the men out of the home,
mhm,
to be able to get certain benefits from whether it's the government, whether it's from wherever the case may be. So now you have these children, sons, daughters growing up with seeing just mama, but not seeing daddy in the home. And when I'm going to your point, Marcus, when they're approached by a man who truly means them well and wants to point them in the right direction, they're almost like, "Whoa, what is this?"
mhm.
All I've seen is mama do.
Right,
I
right.
don't. All I've seen is mama, grind hard and worry
Mhm,
about the bills. I haven't seen the man in the home take up the,
mhm,
be the head, be the lead, be the provider.
mhm.
So some of them
I,
don't know what that looks like, and they're ignorant to that, so they don't know. Wow, what are you coming to me for? Because I don't even see you in
Right,
the home.
right.
And
yeah,
I
and
think.
I think that's a very whew, that can become that can be very heavy,
yeah,
right?
Mhm,
That can be very heavy. Because many different aspects can hit toward that avenue. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And it ooh, Clarence.
it's
Hey,
real. I'm telling you.
hey,
Yes,
it's very serious.
yeah,
Mhm.
It's
yes,
very serious. I'm gonna be transparent here. You know what I mean? My oldest son is my son by choice,
Mhm.
not by blood, right? But he's my oldest son by choice, and he deals with a lot, in that particular in the fatherly aspect or the fatherly avenue. His father made some decisions, and it caused him, not to be there for a certain amount of time. But it becomes it now. He's 12 years old now, getting ready to be 13, and he is now dealing with the repercussions, of his father not being there for some
mm,
of his golden years.
yeah,
You know what
Mhm.
I
yeah,
mean? And it becomes very heavy. It becomes very heavy upon him. Even though I'm there, it becomes very heavy on him, right? Now I have to be there. I have to find a way to be there. And again, I'm just being transparent. I have to find another way to be there besides being there physically every day, because
right,
Mhm.
right,
I'm not there physically every day for my oldest son, who's my son by choice, or my blood son, right?
Mhm.
We're in two totally different states, right? So I have to find another way to make myself present in the home besides being present in the home,
right,
right?
Mhm.
and
right,
and a lot of times, men, we have to do that, because even some men who are present in the home are not present in the home.
yeah,
That's
You know
true.
what I mean?
That's
And
right,
true.
that can cause another issue. That can cause a whole nother issue. So one of the things I believe that's important, that we do as fathers, as sons, because you're absolutely right. The now what we have is social media, more or less raising, your kids for you,
right,
Mhm.
because
right,
the father, a lot of times the father is not there, right? And
Mhm.
so, how is it, the question now becomes, how do we as men, be fathers, while we're in the home, and fathers while we are outside of the home? because it's not right to see the sometimes the woman has to take on the responsibility because the man has not fully identified with who he is. He
Yeah.
doesn't know fully who he is. He
Yeah.
cannot, he doesn't sometimes man, listen, I'm telling you, sometimes one of the issues is that sometimes God will I've seen in instances, and maybe you guys would disagree, maybe you guys would agree. I've seen in instances where when the father is not fully when he is not going to help the son, when he won't be there to help his son, when he won't be there to mentor his son, when he won't be there to lead or direct his son, God will remove the father in order to protect the son, and then put somebody else in there in order to make sure that the son goes on the right path,
The right
right?
path.
And it's
Right.
it, it's your child is such a strategic gift from God, right? That you cannot, some battles we can't afford to lose. You know what I mean? You cannot afford to lose that battle. When it comes to being a father for your son, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
you're not going to grow. I'm not saying that you're not going to learn. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? But what I am saying is that you cannot afford to lead that son in a wrong direction. You know what I mean? You may not be, holier than thou. That's
Oh
fine.
yeah.
But lead that son, man. Lead him, guide him, mentor him. Do something to help build this man, or build him in the response or the role that he's supposed to be in. Especially black men. I'm telling you, man, because of the aspect, man, there's already a hit after our men. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And another mark after the minority of men. So I think it's very, very vital, man, that we take that role serious, and we mentor, we lead, we guide, we do something, man, to help, bring these men, into the direction or the leadership in which they're supposed to be, and actually just being, hey, man, we can't allow social media to raise our kids. We got to do that
Right.
out.
Right. Right. No,
Yeah.
this is
At,
awesome.
at the end of the day, too, we always people have always been raised by outside influences, right? So
Mhm.
I grew up in the hood, and our mentors, our people that we saw were the drug dealers, the men with more than one woman, the men that had the nice cars with the loud music, and those were the things that we looked up to, and those were the ones who gravitated to us as young kids because they wanted to groom us and to be a little bit of what they wanted. So I think what we need to kind of focus in on now is how do we get those men who were raised like that to be the men that we're talking about today, to be able to mentor and teach somebody a different way. Because a lot of times now we're going to see our men are out of the homes because of those men that groomed them when they were younger. Now they in jail. Now they got other stuff going on. So how do we get the men now to see that, hey, that might look cool, right? But it's not what you need to go
Yeah.
to. And
Right.
and a lot of them that's the identity that they want to go to. I want to be rich. I want to have a bankroll. I want to be able to have the nice cars because I mean
Right.
social media tells you now that you got to have a lot of money as a man. You got to be able to make over six figures. You got to be able to do this and do that. And if you're not a man. That's what social media is telling. When we were younger, we were told, in the hood, sell dope, play ball, rap, do something along those lines to make it
Right.
rich. So that's not the big percentage of men that's going to make that kind of money. So a lot of people, like you said, Mike, earlier, we're identified by things, by stuff. You know what I'm
I
saying?
was
And
just
so a
getting
lot of
ready to
people are
say that.
exactly a lot of people are struggling, trying to say, well, I don't have what it takes to be a man. And that's not true either. So I want y'all to kind of elaborate a little bit on that because I know you discussed a little bit of that earlier, Mike, to where we can talk about how can we get those men who were raised with a different mindset.
Hmm.
How do we get that mind back into having the right mind to
I
say,
think
okay,
that
that
I think that that's the important. You hit on the very important part, right?
Mhm.
It's a mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the question becomes, what do you identify yourself as, or what do you identify yourself with? I got a brother, man, and or I know someone also, man, who was an amazing football player. You take that football player, you take that away from him, right? You take basketball away from an athlete, you know what I mean? Then, if that's all they identified themselves with, they struggle in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's all they knew, right? That's again, just like you saying, Marcus, like, you know what I mean? The drug dealers, the game, like, bro, sometimes that's all they know. And because that's all they know, that's all they identify themselves as, right?
Correct.
So it's important now that we bring in another mindset. Now the issue, or the complete issue with understanding or bringing in another mindset, is that the person has to be willing to accept the new concept, right? The new idea. That's the thing that we've got to do, and the only way that you be able to do that really is that takes consistency. You know what I mean? That takes consistency. So just being there, right? I'm not saying just this. I'm not saying hit somebody in the head with the Bible all the time. Hey, I'm gonna give you scripture all the time. No, sometimes, bro, all we need is for somebody to just be there. Like, hey, bro, you know what I mean? And just tell them, hey, man, hey, look, there's another way. There's another way to make money. You know what I mean? I know this is an adrenaline rush. You know what I mean? But look, there's another way to make money, bro. You know
Here's
what I
the
mean?
right way. Here's the right way.
You don't have to beat somebody in the head with the Bible all the time. Just show them.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Just show them, because the only reason that they're doing what they're doing is because that's all they were shown. That's all they know how to do. You know what I mean? That's all that they are identified at. That's all that they know, bro. So if we can show our young men another way, you know what I mean? Then, man, then we start the ripple effect. We start to change. We're the ones that start to change by showing them, But I think that's the important part, bro. Like, we've got to hit the mindset first. You know what I mean? That's what we've got to hit. You know what I mean? You've got to change. You've got to change the mind. If you change the mind, you change the behavior. If you change the behavior, you change the habit. You know what I mean? And that's the important part that we've really that's what we've got to hit on. Again, like I said, man, I know somebody, man, you take basketball away from them, then they're lost. You know what I mean? And part of the reason is two things. One, because that's all they know. Number two is because that's what they're in love with. Now, that's another thing, because sometimes just because you're in love with something does not mean that that's what you should be identifying yourself as.
Agree.
Or that doesn't mean that that's what your purpose is. Because as men, we've all been in love with something, you know what I mean, or someone that was not good for us. You know what I mean? We just being transparent here, right? Like, we bros. You know what I'm saying?
And passion and purpose is not the same thing. People think passion and purpose is the same thing. It's not.
It's not the
you
same
may have
thing.
a passion to play basketball or whatever it is,
that
but
don't mean that's what your purpose is.
That's
right. I can be in love with basketball, but just because I'm in love with basketball doesn't mean I'm supposed to be doing that for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like that those two things doesn't mean that if that narrative was true, that mean that, and I'm gonna be honest, right? I ain't been saved all my life. So back in the day, I used to smoke a little bud, right? I used to smoke a lot of bud, and I used to love it. And so just because I love it, does that mean that that's what I'm supposed to be doing every day for the rest of my life?
Exactly.
No. So just because you love something or you have a passion for something does not mean that that's what your purpose is. Your purpose is identified in what your identity is. And you got to search through God. God reveals what your identity is. That comes through him. You know what I mean? God will tell you what your identity is and ultimately tell you what your purpose is. That comes through God. But I think the first thing that we've got to understand and we got to do is change our mindset, bro. You know what I mean? So that, we're not identified with something that God never intended us to be identified with in the first place.
Yeah. That's good. I tell you, that brings us to, one of my favorite chapters in this book. There were so many. I know, Mike, we talked a couple times. I think every time we talked, I had a new favorite chapter.
You hit on one of my favorites, though. You hit on one of my favorites from the beginning.
So today, my favorite chapter is, but it really, I couldn't, last, I guess, 48, 72 hours, I couldn't get away from I think it's chapter 6. Yeah, chapter 6, what do you believe? And I'm gonna read a passage from it in from it real quick. If we're honest with ourselves, we often feel insecure. We question who we are, and oftentimes the people around us greatly impact how we see ourselves. I have been involved in relationships that caused me to put myself in a box and minimize myself and every gift that God has placed in me. And talking to men, you hear that a lot. You know, they'll say, I feel a certain type of way because I feel I let my daddy down. I let my mama down. I let my wife down. You know, I let my kids down, right? But so they've been walking all these years trying to please them, you know, and not that they shouldn't, but in the sense of they've lost their whole identity, right? They don't know who they are and what why they're even in this box, right? So what do you suggest to men or and people in general too? Because I know we, you know, obviously we deal with men, but I'm sure that this captures everyone in terms of believing in what God says you are and not what man says you are, right?
Right. So I think that's a very important concept, right? I've seen, and I even write about this in my book, but I've seen in times past. I've seen through relationship with my friends, and even some associates, man, that you have, a parent who's raising a child, right? And again, I write about this in my book, and I've seen where the child is trying to do something, but the parent will put the child down. You know what I mean? Oh man, you can't do that. You're gonna be like this for the rest. One of the things that we often hear, even within our culture, is you're gonna be just like your daddy, or you
Yeah,
just like your daddy. You
right.
know what I mean? Now you gotta be careful with that concept. You know what I mean? We gotta be very careful with that concept. But that can either lead a child down a wrong path. You know what I mean? Or it can even build that child up. You know what I mean? Like, just depending on the vision that child sees, or the perspective that child sees about his father. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And
yeah,
so I think we've got to be very, very careful with that aspect. But when it comes to how we are identifying ourselves through relationships, I myself have been in perspective before, where it's like, okay, I do feel like I'm letting somebody down. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This book is personal for me. You know what I mean? Because I've been in those situations, bro. When I first got to Louisiana, right? When I first got to Louisiana, me and Marcus talked a lot. We talked a
Yeah.
lot because I was going through I had just began going through one of the most hardest moments, tumultuous moments of my life. And
Yeah.
and man, listen, this is really personal for me, because if it was not for Marcus, bro, he was somebody that took me by when I first got to Louisiana, first got there. Marcus was somebody that took me by the arm, bro, and was like, "Hey, bro, hey, come on, bro,
It's gonna be all right.
right,
That's it.
right.
come on,
That's
bro."
it. Yeah.
Come on, I was going
That's
through
it.
one of the hardest moments of my life, to the point, and again, I'm being transparent. I love this podcast because we can be transparent. It
Amen.
was to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
point, man, where a lot of people don't know this, but it was to the point where I was like, bro, I don't even want to live no more. Like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm finished. I was going through that hard of a moment. It was that hard for me. Marcus, man, when nobody was looking, nobody was there. You know what I mean? I didn't know nobody in Louisiana. Like, this was probably, when I tell you the first guy, I'm talking about within the first matter of weeks that I
Yeah.
Wow.
just
Yeah.
got to Louisiana. And
Yeah.
Marcus was like, "Hey, bro, come on, bro. I got you,
Mm-hmm.
dog. Like, we gonna get up. We gonna go. We just gonna hang out. We gonna get some wings. You know what I
Right,
mean?
Yeah.
We
right.
just
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah,
talk, bro.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's me and you. You know what I mean? Don't worry about nobody else. Don't worry about nothing else. It's me and you, dog. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He ain't beat me in the head with no Bible. He was just there.
Right.
Yeah.
Bro was just there. You know what I mean? And so I think that is one of the things that we're talking about, right? We
Mm-hmm.
need men to just be there. And when you're there for men, what we don't see is that you overshadow all of the negative aspects that was ever implanted in you. You
Yeah,
understand what I'm saying?
yeah.
When you begin to speak life over someone, you
Yeah.
uproot all the negative things that was there. right? That somebody put in there. When just like as a plant, man, you can uproot that stuff. You know what I mean? You can uproot it with positive affirmations.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that
Yeah.
that's one of the things that we've got to look at is how can I be there? And as I'm there, I'm not beating you in the head with Bible, because some people, when you beat them in the head with Bible, they rebel, right? And so, not beating you in the head with Bible, but let me give you positive affirmations, right?
Yeah.
Mark has done that. My wife, man, bro, my wife, when she came into my life, bro, she took me from a broken state, and God used her to restore me in so many
Yeah.
areas. I tell her all
Wow.
the time, I said, yo,
Wow.
you restored me in ways that you didn't even know that you restored me in. Why? Positive affirmations.
Congratulations. Right.
Positive affirmation. Hey, you know you a king. You my king. You know what I mean? Bro, Marcus would tell me all the time, hey bro, it's gonna be all right. You gonna overcome. You
Right.
That's
gonna
it.
overcome. You
Right.
coming through
Right.
this. You may not see it, but you coming
You
through
coming
this.
through.
You
Yes.
Yeah.
coming through.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't that he was beating me in the head, bro. It was just, hey, give that man positive affirmations, right? And so when we're looking at men, right, and you see them in a downtrodden position, it's so many. You don't have to look far, right? It's so many that's been beat down because of relationships in their past, because of
Yeah.
relationships with their parents, because they feel like they already cannot be there for their children,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
it's when
Right.
you look at, you don't have to look far, man. But when you see this, build them up,
Build
give
them
them
up.
positive affirmation. Why? This helps them overcome the identity crisis that they're in, right? If we're gonna be honest, again, like I said in the book, all of us have been in an identity crisis.
Yeah.
All of us have.
Right.
Where you question who you really are.
Yeah.
Am I pastors are in it all the time. You know what I mean? If you give a message that don't nobody stand for, sometimes they'll be like, oh man, am I really called to do this?
Right.
Fathers,
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
Right.
make when
Yeah.
we make it when
Right.
we make mistakes, man, you know what I mean? Am I being a good father? Am I being a good husband? Am I being a good son? Am I good on my job? All of these are identity crisis. And if you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
careful, it'll swallow you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This
If
is
you're not
good.
careful,
This
it'll
is
swallow
good.
you. And
Yes.
so the way that you overcome this is positive affirmations.
Affirmations.
Yeah.
Positive affirmations. You know what I mean? And if we can ensure that we are instilling positive affirmations in our men, man, I'm telling you, the whole world is gonna change around.
And
Whole
that's
world
why
gonna change around.
brotherhood is so important, and also
Yeah.
having men within that brotherhood to show, to tell men, but to show men who they really are by example. As we were speaking, I just felt in my spirit, example, example, example. The three of us right now are examples. The brothers are the men that we leaned on earlier on in our life, or even now in our life. They are examples. We've all come from places where we, again, going back to what you said, Mike, we weren't all always saved. You
Yeah,
know, and for those men not to throw us under the bus, but to really set us on, have an example for us to see, to set us on the right path. You
yeah.
know, man, awesome book, awesome, Mike. Mike, thank you for joining us today.
And
This
thank you
is
for
great.
having me.
Tell everybody where they can find your book, what you got going on, all
Yeah,
that good
so
stuff.
absolutely. You can find my book. I have a website called www.michaelaroberson.com. You can get my book on that platform. You can also get it on Amazon. It's currently on Amazon. You'll find it, within Barnes and Noble. So those are the websites that you can get it from right now. A lot of people can get it. Again, a lot of people are ordering it from my website. A lot of people are also getting it from Amazon. I know that for a fact. Just be cautious, man. If you're ordering it from my website, it takes a little time to get there simply because I'm shipping it all the way from Hawaii, right?
Right.
So it's going to take a little minute, right? But if you get it from Amazon, it'll probably get there a little bit faster. But either one of those websites, man, you definitely can get it from. I
Well,
believe that this book could
I
change
can
your life.
definitely attest to everyone. It was worth the wait. This book is awesome, brother. Thank you for it. A
Give
lot of
that
the
website
men.
one more time, Mike.
Yeah, we're gonna drop that website in the
Okay.
You
chat.
can get it. My website is Michael Michael A. Roberson Jr. Roberson is Roberson, JuniorJR.com. Right, you can get it from there, or you can get it from Amazon. Just type in "identity crisis" on Amazon, and it'll take you right to it. You probably should even be able to type it in on Google, just "overcoming identity crisis," and then put my name. You should be able to find it from there. This book, man, I believe it will change your life. We've all been in identity crisis. Now we've got to figure out how to overcome it. How we get,
yeah. Thank you so much, and thank everyone for joining us here at the Guy Talk. We got one more thing. We wrap up, Mike, always with our guests with a wrap-up question.
Let's do it.
Today's wrap-up question for you today is: how do you maintain your authenticity and not conform to culture?
That's a good one, right? How do you maintain your authenticity and not conform to culture? I think you got to remember who you are, right? Just it may sound elementary again, but you got to be true to you, right? My wife is she's very big on that. Hey, you was born. Don't. It's no need to be copying anybody. Be yourself.
Yes.
Be yourself.
Yes.
I have two leaders. One in Apostle Michael L. Smith. And I have another leader, my other spiritual father, Archbishop Lorenzo Peterson. I was under him first, still under him, under both of their umbrellas. Archbishop Lorenzo Peterson taught me a long time ago. He said, "You was born an original, never die copycat." Right? You were born an original, never die copycat. We don't have to copy. We don't have to copy anybody. Right? Be yourself. Now, again, just kind of piggybacking off of one of the things that we talked about before. You can be yourself and still have a role model that you look at and you mirror yourself behind. As long as they're doing that behind, and teaching you in the direction that you need to be going into, but you don't have to copy everything that somebody has done. You can be authentic and still emulate, Christ and emulate the other person. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm going to follow your footsteps, but I'm going to be authentic to myself. So I think it's making sure, man, that you always stay true to who you are, the visions that you have, the dreams that you have, the aspirations that you have. Never give that up. Be yourself. Be you. Be you. Just be you.
Thank you so much, brother. This has been awesome. This has been good. Again, everyone, michaelroberson.com. We have it in the chat. Go get the book. It is on Amazon right now. Go support our brother, our friend. I'm telling you, will not be disappointed with this read. I'm an avid reader. My wife will tell you I read a lot. And this book here is nothing short of informative, impactful, and amazing. So y'all go support our brother. All right, Mike. All right, Marcus. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. The Guy Talk Pod.
All right, man.
Y'all, we are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at The Guy Talk Pod.
TikTok,
tap in. Episodes out now. Thank you all so much for supporting myself and Marcus and sending so much love and support. We're going to keep bringing you honest, open, transparent discussions. We love y'all. And as our bishop say, you can't do nothing
about it.
Sign it off. Thank y'all. Peace.
All right. See y'all. All right.